Salami!
I believe.
Charge!
Good job.
Oh, let's go!
Don't jinx it.
We need more boys.
Everyone, repair.
Oh god. Ah, no, we're not gonna live. Oh no, wait, no, we will live.
The state of logistics in Foxhole has long since been a problem, but with the developers actively failing to provide any positive implementation to improve or ease the pain of logistics, whilst actively adding new things that logistics players have to mass produce, it is no surprise that players like myself have had enough. Over the past few months, a growing proportion of logistical players have been uniting under a union called LOGI. LOGI stands for the Logistical Organisation for General Improvements. Over 1,800 members have since joined their Discord, and the discussion about logistics and its issues is growing. If you've never heard of Foxhole, it is a top-down, third-person shooter, about two fictional sides fighting over a single world. The game is inspired by early 20th warfare, uniquely copying the style of weapons and vehicles whilst allowing the players to develop their own tactics. The game itself is in an alternate universe where everything is made by a player. Every bullet, every gun, and every tank is made, crafted, and scavenged by a player. With little to no automation in the line of crafting materials, you can probably see where the issues begin. Let's go for a dive into the basics of logistics. Currently the map in Foxhole is huge, spanning a total of 37 hexes, and this war the developers have since decided to move all of the refineries to the back hexes of the map, as well as all of the other factories to the back as well, putting even more strain onto logistics players, forcing players to travel further distances to supply front lines to allow for infantry and tanks to push even further away from the current supply lines. For the Wardens this war, they have to travel from either Tychotima, Ashfield, or Idolo. For the southern regions, it allows for a constant supply of resources. However, for the northern regions, where most of the bitter fighting is currently taking place, it is causing supply routes to be stretched thin, leading to more bases being built to protect supply trucks from partisans, thus inflaming the current burnout crisis for logistics players, as well as their builder counterparts. For colonials, they are suffering from much the same problem. The only difference is most of their huge halls of LOGI are forced to travel overseas, which is even more dangerous and slow than travelling over land, as there is no security or counters to many of the tactics used to destroy naval logistics. So firstly, let's start off with the basics. Scrapping. Scrapping is the basis for almost all of the items in the game. Scrap breaks down into three resources: BMATs, EMATs, and fuel. All in all, to fill a truck of scrap in the early game, it takes approximately 20 minutes. That is with a normal hammer and with a single person. The scrap is then taken to a refinery from the field or the mine, where it is then turned into the supply that you want. Each resource has a certain exchange rate from salvage to any of the resources you want to create. From there, the material goes to the factory into weapons and ammo that you want to create. After waiting in a queue for a short while, you're able to either drop the supplies off in a seaport, or you're able to collect them yourself and drive them to the front. The current logistics meta has become a threat to the health of the game. Not only that, but the chore of doing logistics is only set to become harder. The devs have consistently laid out future plans for expansion of not only the map, but of the arsenal of weapons that frontline players are able to use. All in all, the Logistics Organisation for General Improvements have written an open letter sent to the developers and published onto the Foxhole Reddit. In all, the Logistics Organisation has laid out 11 key issues, with a wide range of other issues they class as being less important. The 11 issues are of critical importance, affecting not only the experience of logistics players itself, but also the time taken for supplies to reach the front line. On January the 10th, the deadline was drawn out for some form of response from the developers, known as Siege Camp Studios, yet no response was provided. A total of almost 1,600 players signed the letter, and approximately 200 to 400 players have stopped doing LOGI and moved to other roles. Last month, when the entrenched update was still at the peak of its hype, the game had over 4,000 players in-game at the same time. However, during the current war, it is averaging around 1 to 2,000 during peak times. The strike was not designed to break any terms of service. It was, however, designed to force other players to experience the logistical systems themselves and understand the issues with the systems. As a frequent logistics player myself, I'm fully aware of the issues that I encounter on a daily basis. The Foxhole community has a split of those who support it and those who oppose it. Many of the opposition are frontline players with little to no experience in logistics roles, or they have become numb to the issues at hand. The strike was voted on by members of the logistics community, and the most popular one was picked. LOGI have stated that any players partaking in sabotage, queue blocking, team killing, and using the logistics strike as cover is not supported or endorsed, and have urged players to strike peacefully to not break terms of service. In a game where it all hinges on logistics players being the backbone of the game, to have decisive actions such as this is a huge blow to not just the developers but the community itself. For months the community has called for more communication with the development team, but frequent bans in the Foxhole Discord, as well as censorship of criticism on Reddit, leaves many players without a voice. LOGI has not only given the players a voice, but it has also given them a platform in which to get their views across. The effects of the strike have started to become more clear, as more and more of the players who picked up the roles have since burned out to play other games or return to their normal roles. In the front lines where regiments are not playing, many of the weapons available are the weapons which we spawn with, consisting of a single pistol and 2 clips of ammo. Back lines are not built up or supplied as well as they usually are. And salvage fields, which is crucial in the running of the in-game progression system, seem to be getting increasingly scarce of people willing to scrap. As the war goes on and more players will start to give in and stop playing, both Wardens and Colonials have logistical focused regiments, but with the Warden logistical supply lines getting increasingly stretched, it's now going to become the case of who burns out first. Many players with a job don't plan on playing a game that feels like a second job when they get home. As much as the memes about German truckers playing Euro Truck Simulator, even they are starting to get fed up with the current systems. Siege Camp needs to respond, and soon, because the experience of new players on the front line will be causing people not to return to the game. Foxhole has a great amount of potential, yet even so, the developer's lack of communication with its community is going to cause an innumerable amount of issues further down the road, as it already has done. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is BlazingWolfie, and I hope you enjoyed today's video.